Hi, my name is Kellye Harkey, and you can find me at the concession stand almost every Saturday morning during upward season. Probably see me back around in the afternoon when I come to watch my granddaughter cheer. She's been doing that for several years. So I grew up in this church, went here until I was in about junior high or high school. My family kind of quit going to church at that time. As I grew up and got married, I always came back to church wherever I lived in several different places on Army bases, and I always went back to church, but I probably wasn't really living quite like I should. In 1985, I had my daughter, Natalie. We eventually settled in Marion, Illinois, and Natalie was baptized there. We were a member of the First Baptist Church there. And then we eventually moved back here to our hometown. And for quite a few years, I didn't go to church anywhere. And then I visited around to several local churches and finally ended up back here where I started, where I grew up. And it felt like coming home. It really, truly did. A lot of the people that I went to church with were still going to church here. My sister started coming with me. I really feel like I was led to be back here at that specific time. I had lost my job that I'd had for 10 and a half years, and that was a big blow. But I tried to take it in stride and thought, okay, I'll just take a little time off work. That was fine until 6 months later, my husband lost his job that he had had for 38 years. So now we were both unemployed. And that was very difficult. It was very hard. We got through it, the best we can. There were financial struggles, but we got through it. And then in February of 2012, my daughter Natalie was 26. She was pregnant with her second child, and she took her own life. She had a almost four-year-old daughter. So now losing our jobs didn't seem like such a big deal. It seemed like nothing, because now I've lost my only child. Immediately, I was so thankful that I had Pastor Chip to call. My sister and I both, we had to wait a few hours before we felt like it was actually, late enough in the morning to give him a call. And he was immediately at my house and prayed with us and helped us through, the most difficult moments in the very beginning. It was a horrible tragedy, but in that tragedy, I knew that God was with me the entire time. I mean, from the wee hours of the morning, of the moment that we found out that Natalie had taken her life. At first, I just said it can't be true until I had to admit it is true. And I immediately said to my sister, God took my daughter, but he didn't take me. And I knew that, and I knew there was still a purpose for me in this life, and I knew God was going to walk me through this. And he did, and the love I felt from everybody. Recently I've been in a Bible study, studying 1 Peter, and they talk about joy during sorrow. And there truly is joy during sorrow, believe it or not, because I've never felt so much love in my life from my friends, my family, my church family, as I felt during those days. As time went on, I just felt so supported by people here at church. At the funeral, Rick Mann and his mother, they asked me if they could pray with me at the funeral. And I said, yes, please do, because I don't even know what to pray for. And so Rick and his mother, Rick prayed for Emma, for her heart and her soul and her mind to be comforted. And I have said that prayer for her over and over and over ever since that day. And so in the days to come, of course it was very difficult in the beginning, and it got better. I still had a big mountain ahead of me because Emma needed someone to take care of her, and she was a week shy of her 4th birthday. And so I wasn't allowed to see Emma for the first 35 days after my daughter died. And I really didn't think I was going to live through some of those days. And on the final day, when I really just prayed and I just said, God, I really can't take this anymore. I don't know how Emma is. I don't know how she's accepting this. And that day, I got a phone call telling me that I was going to be able to see her that day and spend the day with her. And what a relief. And I just thank Jesus. I mean, I truly just thank Jesus that I finally was going to get to spend the day with her. So from there, over the next few months, I was allowed to start seeing her. I was having to deal with the court system and lawyers. And finally, after 2 months, Emma came and lived with me. I made her temporary guardian, and I still had to continue to go through about a year of a court battle before I was finally awarded permanent guardianship of her. I knew I was going to have guardianship of her. I knew she was going to live with me. I had no doubt about that because I knew that God was with me and He was going to see to it that that child was taken care of. And I didn't pray that I would get her all the time. Sometimes, most of the time, I just prayed that whatever was going to be the best thing for Emma in her life, that's what would happen. And so finally, it took a year, but it did happen. You know, my message to anybody out there, I don't know how many people have said to me as a mother, you know, they would have to be buried with their child because they just couldn't live if something happened to their child. Well, I'm telling you that you do live through it. You will find joy again. And if you put God at the center of any struggle that you have, you know, the loss of a child or any struggle at all that you have, God will be there and God will get you through it.